Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
I am good.
Yeah, good. Me too.
Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm going to the Boston Elm meetup tonight.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
You speaking or are you just attending?
I'm just attending. Former colleague Ian Anderson is speaking, ThoughtBotter. But yeah, as I probably mentioned on here a little bit, I'm pretty into Elm these days. I think it's really exciting. And so I'm going to go there and see what's going on, what the scene's like.
That's cool. Do you know how big the meetup is? Is it like a fair following? Okay.
I'm not sure. I guess I could look on Meetup, but it doesn't really tell you how many people show up for real.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm interested. Apparently, it's a speaker format, so I think they have 2 speakers giving talks. I read something from Richard Feldman, who's an Elm person, or maybe it was Evan. I think I forget. Some Elm luminary about how they've been having really good success doing like hack fest type meetups. Or like just no speakers, but everyone shows up with something to work on, and people kind of form impromptu groups. I'd be down with that too, but I guess I'm fine just listening to some talks.
Yeah, cool. Well, I'm anxious to hear about it. You've sucked me onto the Elm bandwagon, so now I talk about it every time I get an opportunity too.
Nice.
Yeah.
This is particularly appropriate for me right now because next week I fly to Denver for Rocky Mountain Ruby, and my talk will be Elm focused. So I'm doing a little research, I guess. In Refactoring Rails news, I have a logo.
Sweet. So you got the designer all locked in and already have a product?
Yeah. Here, let me show you. I'll send you a link, and then we can throw this in the show notes, but so you can see the treatment.
Ooh, nice. I like it.
Thanks. I like it too. So I'm working with Jack Dade, who's a referral, friend of a friend, and it's been great. He did a nice job. And we were talking early on, I was saying, it would be nice to marry something kind of railroad related, basically, like something along the Rails theme, and also the idea of improvement or change. And almost right away, he was like, check out this picture of a railroad switch. And I was like, yeah, actually, that's kind of the right idea. And he's like, no, it even kind of looks like an R. Like that sort of turn, like, one track going straight and then the track taking a right. And it's like, oh, that's kind of R-like. And then that just was that became the inspiration and made its way into the final logo. And the final logo, like you probably wouldn't look at that and go railroad switch for sure. But it's kind of, I kind of like that it has a history or a background or some thought behind it.
Yeah. It's like, once you tell me that, I can totally spot it. So it's like a little bit of an abstract version of the concept, but yeah, I like it.
I like it even not knowing that though. I think it's kind of nice. I don't know. It feels good.
Yeah.
Jack has someone that works for him that does a video stuff. So they are going to handle making the bumpers for the videos, a little intro and a little outro. It's just some simple animation of that logo for like title cards and things like that. And also they're going to do the sales site. So that's sort of the next thing is I owe him a markdown document where I'm going to basically outline like, here's roughly what I think the major design elements of the sales page should be.
Yeah. Good. Wow.
Yeah.
So you found a one-stop shop for all your design and polish needs. That's cool.
Yeah, it worked out really, really nicely. And then while he was working on that this week, I finished the notes for all the videos. And it's funny, the notes, I put off doing the notes for a while because honestly, I was kind of dreading it because I knew I would have to rewatch every video. And I was worried that I would rewatch them and go, oh man, this one kind of sucks. Oh, I don't really like this. And I was like worried it was going to shake my confidence in the quality. But I was actually pretty pleasantly surprised. I was like, this is good. I'm happy with all this. There were a couple little things where I was like, I might have changed this, or like some small things here and there. But overall, I was pleased.
Nice. That's good. Yeah. I'm always a little leery of listening to anything that I've recorded of myself. Like I only listen to about half the podcasts we publish because sometimes I'm just like, I don't really feel like listening to myself right now. So,
yep, sure. After editing everything too, it seems like I just pretty smoothly flow from idea to idea and say everything correctly the first time and make no typos and type really fast. And it's like, it's all editing magic, but the final product feels pretty polished. Another reason I wanted to do this was quality control, and all the videos were fine. I didn't find any mistakes, except for in one place, somehow there's like 3 minutes of unedited section in one of the videos towards the end that I somehow just missed. And it was really interesting how jarring it was, because everything else like flowed so smoothly. And then like I had sort of forgotten what the recording process was, which was like me trying to say everything like 7 times. And like, it's just interesting to see that raw footage again and be like, oh man, that was so annoying. It was like, I would say a thing, I would say it kind of differently. I would say it a third way. I would, make a typo while talking. I would back up. I would change the wrong variable. It was just like, wow, there were so many mistakes going into this. It was crazy.
Yeah. And how did you do your editing? Did you hired someone to do that, or did you edit
I
it
did
yourself?
I edited it myself. Okay. I got Final Cut Pro and just did it. Editing is kind of fun. Editing is a little bit like refactoring. It's like you got the raw materials there and you want to make it better. And it was really cool because I would start off with like an hour of raw recorded stuff, and then the final product would be like 23 minutes or something.
Yeah. But the time to edit was like many, many hours, right? Like,
yeah. It was definitely a few hours per, probably 2 or 3 hours, somewhere in there. But I kind of got in the zone with the editing after a little while, because it didn't require. It's interesting. It didn't require like a ton of thought. It was just like, okay, I need to, like, which take do I sound the best? Which take did I not make a mistake? Oh, that was like, I heard a little bit too much breath on that one. Let me cut out that breath. Let me chop out that typo. And so it's just it was fairly like low mental requirement, but just like the steady production of final polished product that was gratifying to see.
Yeah. That's cool. So what do you have left to do before your, let's see, it's October 16th launch date, and it's September 21. So what do you have left?
Not much, actually. So the sales page, I have to write up that doc for the sales page. And actually, so the deliverable on that will be HTML and CSS. So that should just mostly be throwing that on a static site thing somewhere. The notes are done. I'm going to do a proofreading pass of all the notes for spell checking and like adding links to things. But that's pretty close. I need to fix that one video that needs editing. I believe I have chosen my hosting provider, which is Gumroad, based on some talks with Adam. He's a fan for this, since I'm mostly it's just going to be static files. Like I'm not going to do like you have a course section. I don't think it would add much for this. So I think he's like, if you're just going to give him like a zip file, like Gumroad is a nice choice for that. So I believe that's what I'm going to do. So there's like that signing up and uploading and all that. And that, I believe, are the last set of blockers. Also, decide on pricing, create a launch sequence for emails, things like that.
That stuff does add up. Yeah.
It does. Yeah. It does for sure. But like it's not too bad. I'm at the point where nothing on my list feels intimidatingly large or like unknown. It's like, yep, it's going to take some work to write up, an email sequence, but I've done it before and I can sort of picture all the steps. So as the panic of the looming deadline increases, I'll just crush through it and get it done.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Well, that's good, man. I'm excited.
Thanks.
You're making good progress. Yeah. Yeah,
it feels good. I had a bunch of time off and I didn't feel stuck, but it was like, okay, progress was not going very quickly. But now now it's moving along. The dominoes are falling. I still do have some other stuff to do on top of that, though, like the talk I'm writing for Rocky Mountain Ruby, and then there's 3 talks before then, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, and you talked before about like your Ruby meetup tour. Is that still something you're thinking of doing, like post launch, or where are you at on that?
Yeah, I'm still considering doing that. So since I'm launching October 16th, I think it would basically be like late October, early November. I'm going to be shooting for dates in that time frame. But that's not a blocker, so I'm sort of not thinking about it quite yet.
Right, yeah. Yeah, no need to cloud your mental space with that just yet.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I think that's what's up with me.
Good. Well, in Dripland, I've been like deep in the kind of backend stuff right now. We're kind of in that season where my attention is mostly needed on kind of helping think about scaling challenges and stuff like that. And especially through the lens right now of Black Friday that's coming. If you look like compared to last year, we've had obviously a lot of growth, many, many thousands of customers added to our customer base. And definitely like a good amount of interest from people who are selling things online, like more pronounced, I would say, than a year ago. Early Drip history was predominantly like smaller companies and a lot of SaaS apps and people who are kind of in the micropreneur space. And of course, it's obviously expanded out from there. And Drip is turning out to be a tool that's really attractive for a lot of people who are selling things naturally, because you can leverage all the automation stuff to basically convert that into money. So with that comes like, I wonder how much volume we're going to actually expect on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and that whole kind of week surrounding that typical like retailer week of chaos, right? So our first step in that has been like, all right, let's build up some models. Let's try to estimate, like, based on current patterns right now and based on historical patterns from last Black Friday, what can we expect for, peak traffic, like peak number of email sends in a given hour, or number of like amount of segmentation activity that's going on, and all that good stuff. So like step one has been, let's try to think through the models, estimate around where we need to be to feel comfortable, and then kind of start itemizing all the work that we would like to get done before then, just to make sure that we feel comfortable on the day of. So that's been it's been a fun process to think systematically through it. And we have a couple like experienced architect type folks in the building. And it's been really cool to kind of tap their wells of knowledge and talk through these interesting problems. It is a little bit like stressful being that there's like a looming date coming where like, we're building up models for this, and we have a limited amount of time to accomplish tasks in between now and then. So we're having to be very deliberate about picking which ones are most important and triaging things. But overall, I'm feeling pretty good about where things stand, and it feels good to have visibility into it. Like I spent probably like several full days in total, just in front of whiteboards and posting sticky notes on a wall and breaking things down into 1-day chunks. And historically, we haven't spent a lot of time in the planning phase. We usually try to do as little process as possible and then get to the actual doing part. But I think it has definitely been worth it to spend a good amount of time building up models and thinking through all the different avenues that we can go. Basically, the more information we have, the more planning we do up front, the more comfortable everyone can feel that we're going to achieve our goals.
Sure. Are you planning, or have you done any simulation of high load?
Yeah, so we do some of that in like isolated staging environments for sure. It's really difficult. The most difficult part to simulate is all of the different types of interactions that happen in production, like at the same volume that we're experiencing. So like at peak, we hit like 30,000 queries per second on our master database. And depending on what queries are happening at one time, that impacts the performance of other systems. And like to get all of that simulated simultaneously is really tricky. It's something that we are wanting to invest in. And, it's definitely like a pretty significant investment, but I think well worth it to get like a pretty good simulation environment really locked in. So right now, like usually the thing that's most effective for us is to just instrument the heck out of everything that we think might be impacted by a change we're making, and then we use a library called Rollout that helps with like, you can set a value in Redis and then say like only roll this new piece of functionality or new like code path out to 10% of requests, and then you can dial it up and down, or you can target specific accounts. And so kind of doing that in combination with instrumenting things helps us kind of get an idea of how it's impacting real world.
So on those days, everyone's in the office in a war room somewhere, like ready to like scale everything up like crazy?
Yeah, I mean, so like day of Black Friday, I mean, my hope is that we will be fully prepared and not need to like all be in the same room necessarily. I know different folks will be out of town from the team, traveling because Thanksgiving, which is always a little interesting when we're all spread out geographically. But the nice thing is like we're already on the path of leveraging more and more of Amazon's tool chain. So like auto scaling groups basically allows us to like log into the Amazon console and increment a number, and it'll automatically spin up more servers and provision more capacity. So like the more things we can get kind of under that model where like it doesn't even require a deployment to tweak something, the better off we're going to be, I think. So
Totally.
yeah.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah.
I kind of want to be in the room, or like in the Slack channel, and like watch this go down.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it'll be fun. I mean, if we hadn't started planning this early, then it would have been a much like worse situation. Like a week before, if we're like, oh no, we should have thought of this, and then it would be toxically stressful. And I thought I wanted to mention one of the specific things initiatives we're working on that I find particularly fun. It's a little bit technical, but I thought I'd dive into that for just a minute. And it's around queuing. So we use Sidekick extensively, and if you're familiar with Sidekick, it basically you can divide jobs into different sub queues, right? So you can specify their relative priority to one another. But it's a pretty simplistic, like first in, first out model where like once something is in the queue, you don't have any control over reprioritizing work. So like if you dump in a bunch of jobs that are for one specific customer and then another customer has a workload that needs to get finished, it will just stack up behind the large batch of jobs, right? And that becomes a problem. And there's different ways to mitigate that that we've experimented with. Like we've have some logic in place that will kind of sort of spread things out in the scheduled queue in Sidekick so that it allows new work to kind of interleave itself with existing batches of work. But that gets tricky because if you spread things out too far, then you're potentially performing the work slower than you should be. If you leave too many gaps in between individual like chunks of work. Conversely, if you schedule it too tight together, then everything ends up in the main queue anyways, because you're not keeping up with the flow of work. And then that kind of crowds out any opportunity to slot work in between. So we've been working through this, we're calling it fair queuing. And we've been working through this kind of initiative on like ideally looking for a pattern that we can apply to any type of thing in Drip that requires performing work at a like round robin style pace where one person is not able to crowd out anybody else's work. And so right now what we've arrived at so far is like, instead of dumping things directly into Sidekick, we're going to set up feeder queues. And so every single batch of work gets its own list in Redis. And then we have a scheduler that will round robin through all the different batches of work that need to be performed. And it'll pull jobs off at an even rate from each of them.
Mm-hmm. And is a job like send 10,000 emails or is it send one email?
It depends. Some of them are like batches, small batches. Usually we do like up to 1,000 types of things, but it just depends on like different types of workloads. Like bulk operations are structured differently than broadcast emails, for example.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Like as we've mapped this out, like we started really conceptual and then we kind of got down into the details of how it's going to work. And I love Redis because it has like all the built-in constructs that we need for this. Like we push things into lists and that happens in constant time. So as lists grow, it still is the same cost, regardless of list size, to push new items in. And then you can do like an atomic operation that pulls something off of a list and pushes it onto Sidekick's queue list. And you can do that atomically so that, it's all thread safe. If you have multiple things that are trying to pull things off this list at the same time, you'll never end up with race conditions. And yeah. So I'm excited about this one. And I think it's going to really improve a lot of Drip's user experience, especially when we're under periods of high load. Like when everything's pretty quiet, then these things end up getting interleaved in the schedule queue and everything's nice. But in the times where we have big old load spikes, then, delays can be painful for customers. So I'm really stoked to get this live.
Yeah. I'm curious to hear how it works in the real world. This feels to me intuitively like one of those things where you're like, oh, this is such a better algorithm. And then you don't realize the subtle failure cases until you actually push it out there.
Yeah, for sure. That's something that we're definitely leery of. Like, what's nice is it's mostly stateless. And because Redis has these operations that allow us to move one thing from one list into another, we never have to like pull data out of a list into memory in this process and then push it back in. So there's never a lot of the failure modes that could happen where like, what happens if we pull a job out and then my process dies in the meantime? Is that job lost forever? Like fortunately we don't have to deal with those types of cases, but it's definitely more complexity. So it's something that we're wanting to like test out a bunch before we push it live.
I believe in you, to be clear, but I'm just it'd be interesting to see.
Yep.
So how long until you package this up and sell it as a Sidekick Enterprise plugin edition?
Yeah, I know. I mean, it could be cool to. I don't think we would sell it, but it could be a cool open source thing. We looked around. Like our first inclination was to say, like, certainly someone else has solved this problem. And we looked around, and there's a few things out there, but they're kind of haven't been updated in a while, sitting around on GitHub, and not sure if they're fully production ready. So I think we just lean towards building it ourselves. But it could be something cool to open source.
Do you have any open source stuff from Drip these days yet?
We have a few things. There's a few small, tiny Ruby libraries that I built a few years back that I've open sourced, like for just really pretty tiny use cases. We don't have any like large scale infrastructure-y type things really in the wild. It's always like the question of, do you want to spend the time extracting something and open sourcing it? And like in an ideal world, yes, but in the real world, it's like hard to prioritize that, which I'm sure every company experiences that, I'm sure. But I love the concept of doing that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and like there's the work of the initial like clean it up, document it, get it out there, but then it's the ongoing stuff that I think is the real drain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like if you release this thing, but it has 280 issues and you don't answer any of them, like are you really helping that much?
Right. Even like our API wrappers, like I feel bad. We have at one point we had someone author a .NET API wrapper for the Drip API, and we have a PHP wrapper. We have a Ruby one, obviously, and like the PHP and .NET ones, we don't have any .NET or PHP developers in house, so it's tough. Like as we add to our API, keeping those libraries up to date and just like keeping them up to date for their various platforms and stuff is like a pretty big burden, and we haven't done a good job of maintaining those. So I kind of just want to like release them, like put a note that, hey, these are not actively maintained. If someone wants to take them over, please do. I don't know. It's hard to sponsor wrappers in a bunch of different languages that you don't have staff
for sure.
for.
Yeah, it's worth it. Sounds like it's worth a try, just like publishing that and seeing if anyone takes.
But if we had an API written in GraphQL, we wouldn't have a problem, because then you can just use a GraphQL client, right?
Oh, is that true? Like, would that solve the same problem? Like, that wouldn't really give you the nice? Well, I don't know. I guess it depends on what people can do with your API. Like, is it just query data, or is it more fancy than that?
Yeah, it's both, and that would be a big effort to move our API to GraphQL. But I have been becoming a big proponent of GraphQL as I explore it on the side. And I do think that solves I think most of the major languages have a client that is able to talk to any GraphQL API. And since you can introspect a GraphQL API, it can get back the schema, and you don't have to write your own wrapper essentially, right? Because any GraphQL client can infer the schema, and then it's able to execute queries and return the data back in a way that you can manipulate it, right? So that's another pro of GraphQL.
Sure. Yeah. Another someday project.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Too many of those.
I have a someday maybe list in my to-do system, and it's just like, a lot of these are kind of cool ideas. Mm-hmm. And they just kind of slowly accumulate.
Along with your Pocket articles.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Actually, speaking of that, someone that listens to the podcast, Josh Beckman, sent me an email the other day, or sent us an email, I should say, and saying that he built a tool for the problem that I have, which is like a Pocket reading list that just gets bigger and bigger. And it's called Narrow, Narro, narrow.co. And the gist is you connect it, you like auth it to Pocket, and it takes the articles and strips the text out and then converts them into podcast episodes. So now you have an audio version of your Pocket reading queue, and it gives you a unique URL for a podcast that you subscribe to that is those articles. I think it's a really good idea. In practice, so I've been trying it for now, like about a month now, and in practice, the voice, like the reading voice, is not quite, it's a little bit annoying to listen to. Like it has enough problems that I'm like kind of frustrated by it. So it's unfortunately a little frustrating to listen to, but I think the basic idea is amazing. And if he can like upgrade the voice quality, I think like I would be a huge fan of this and would be a customer.
Nice. Is it just like some automated text to speech thing that he's using to generate?
Apparently, I don't actually know what's happening on the back end, but it just sounds like, I mean, it's clearly a computer voice reading a thing, basically.
Yeah. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's been nice because now like I just will like sometimes I will flip through my podcast feed and I actually like will just, I don't listen to a lot of the articles, but sometimes they're like short enough. Like sometimes it's like a 45-minute read and it's like too long. But some of them are like nice candidates for it, and it's like, wow, I just like chipped away a few things that I wanted to get in my head, and now they are.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's like there's certain things that I like to hear over audio, and other things I don't. Like I don't know about you, but I struggle with audio books for some reason. Like I really want them to be a good way for me to absorb a book, but when it's not just a podcast, it's usually more like succinct, topical, but it's like a whole book where it's like you're following a narrative that's going to last for 12 hours and trying to stay focused while listening to that. I just really struggle with it, but I feel like it would be a more efficient way for me to take in information because I usually have more opportunities to just listen to something like I'm riding the bus to work or driving in or whatever. But I struggle with that, but I feel like a lot of blog post articles would be more along the lines of a podcast episode, and therefore a good way for me to consume a bite-sized chunk of information.
Yeah.
So
maybe you should try it out.
Yeah, I will check it out for sure.
Yeah. So good idea, Josh. Well, we just crossed the 30-minute mark. You want to wrap it up?
Yeah, let's wrap it.
If you'd like to access the show notes for this episode, you can go to artofproductpodcast.com, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.
See ya.